Breaking news from Formula One. Oscar Piastri's shocking crash in Baku wasn't just a racing mistake. New evidence has surfaced that's shaking McLaren to its core. A weekend already defined by chaos has now exploded into suspicion, rivalry, and whispers of betrayal. Buckle up, this story changes everything. The streets of Baku have always been merciless. Narrow walls, slippery curbs, and a history of destroying dreams in a single corner. On September 21, 2025, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix was already tipped to be a roller coaster, but no one could have predicted the storm that followed. Qualifying turned into pure madness. 6 red flags, rain showers on and off, drivers slamming into walls as if the city itself was rejecting them. Nearly 2 hours of chaos. It was survival of the fittest. And in the middle of it all was Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, carrying McLaren's title hopes. With 2 purple sectors, Piastri looked like the man destined for pole position. The Australian's McLaren was glued to the asphalt, slicing through the circuit like a scalpel. But Baku has a cruel way of turning precision into punishment. Just as he pushed for glory, he clipped the wall, lost the rear, and slammed head first into the barrier. On paper, it was a mistake. The kind even world champions make. Push too far, pay the price. But this wasn't just any driver. This was the man leading the standings, the one who had shown relentless consistency all season, suddenly left stranded in 9th on the grid. His worst starting position in 17 races.
Yeah, obviously a disappointing end. Felt like the car was good and the pace was there. Disappointing way to end it.
Piastri admitted responsibility. No excuses about the weather, the car, or fate. He simply said he pushed too hard. That humility earned him praise from fans and pundits alike. But Formula One doesn't deal in simple truths. In this sport, every mistake is dissected, every strategy questioned, and every shadow hides another layer of intrigue. Because just 2 weeks earlier at Monza, Piastri had been ordered to give back a podium position to his teammate Lando Norris after a pit stop blunder. Fans were already whispering about favoritism, about McLaren protecting their golden boy. Now with Piastri's crash in Baku, those whispers grew louder, turning into full-blown accusations. Race day came and the script only got worse. Even before the lights went out, Piastri's nightmare deepened. He jumped the start, his McLaren anti-stall kicking in, forcing him to stop, then crawl back into motion. From the championship leader on the front row of global headlines to the back of the pack in a single heartbeat. Then came the fatal blow. Only 5 corners into lap 1, chasing the impossible redemption, Piastri went for a bold move around Esteban Ocon's Haas. But the grip wasn't there. The car slid, momentum carried him straight on, and the barrier welcomed him again. Race over. A double disaster, crashing in qualifying and then crashing in the race itself. For McLaren, it was agony. The constructors' title, which they were on the brink of sealing, would have to wait. For Piastri, it was humiliation. A driver known for precision and composure had unraveled twice in 2 days on the very stage he was meant to dominate. If Piastri was supposed to suffer, surely Lando Norris would rise. But even his race turned into a comedy of frustration. He lost ground at the start, got trapped behind Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, and later fell into the dreaded DRS train. McLaren tried an offset pit strategy, gambling on fresher tires late in the race, but a slow pit stop deja vu from Monza killed the plan. Norris clawed his way up to 7th, reducing Piastri's championship lead from 31 points to 25. Not enough to change the title fight, but enough to fuel the idea that something strange was happening inside the orange garage. Why did mistakes and missteps always seem to come when Piastri needed McLaren the most? Fans noticed. Social media erupted. Was Norris the chosen one? Was McLaren quietly pushing their loyal poster boy while leaving their new superstar vulnerable? Or was this simply the chaos of Formula One, dressed up in conspiracy clothing?
Today we couldn't improve the situation. Actually, we made it worse, if anything, with the crash that saw Oscar involved. Some uncharacteristic mistakes for Oscar. Hopefully, they were all accumulated in this event.
Andrea Stella, McLaren's team principal, stood firm. He called Piastri's performance uncharacteristic, insisting these were isolated mistakes and not a sign of deeper cracks. He stressed that both drivers still had equal opportunity, no favoritism, no hidden agendas. The words were steady, but the paddock wasn't convinced. Because in Formula One, words mean little. What matters are pit stop times, strategy calls, and the unspoken hierarchy between teammates. At Monza, McLaren's choice to order Piastri to step aside left scars. In Baku, sending both cars out on risky soft tires early in qualifying while Red Bull played it smart on mediums looked reckless at best, deliberate at worst. Stella can claim neutrality all day long, but when Norris benefits from strategy safety nets and Piastri ends up against the wall, suspicion is inevitable. In this sport, perception is often more damaging than reality. Here's where the story explodes. The new evidence circulating after Baku is about timing, telemetry, and psychology. Reports suggest McLaren's strategy calls placed Piastri in the most dangerous track conditions, sending him out early when the surface was still damp, forcing him to risk everything for a lap time. Telemetry leaks allegedly showed unusual brake bias adjustments during his qualifying run shifts that didn't align with his usual driving style. Was it a glitch, a setup miscommunication, or pressure from the pit wall to push beyond the limit? Add to that his radio chatter cut abruptly after his crash, and fans began connecting dots. None of it proves sabotage, but in Formula One, you don't need proof to spark a scandal. All you need is a hint, a whisper, a pattern that looks too neat to be a coincidence. And with Monza still fresh in everyone's minds, Baku became the tipping point. In Formula One, the car isn't the only machine at work. The garage itself is a battlefield. And after Baku, eyes weren't just on Piastri's broken front wing, but on the subtle body language of the team around him. Engineers, mechanics, strategists, all supposedly united under the McLaren banner, yet whispers say otherwise. Some insiders point to the pit wall dynamic. When Norris struggles, every camera angle shows a swarm of support. Analysts dissecting telemetry, voices steady on the radio. When Piastri faltered in Baku, the reaction looked colder, more clinical, as if his disaster was merely data to be logged. Perception or reality? In Formula One, both cut equally deep. Rivalries in Formula One are never just about speed. They're about mind games, media narratives, and internal politics. Senna versus Prost, Hamilton versus Rosberg, even Verstappen versus Ricciardo at Red Bull. When two teammates fight for the same crown, the team becomes a battlefield. McLaren now faces that same fire. Norris is the loyal soldier, the face of the brand, adored by fans and tied deeply into the team's long-term project. Piastri is the rising star, young, ruthless, and leading the standings. Supporting one means risking the other, and in Baku, it looked as if the scales tilted ever so slightly in favor of Norris. For Piastri, the pressure is immense. 2 blows in 2 weeks, one political, one personal. First Monza's team orders, then Baku's self-destruction. Even the strongest drivers can crack under such weight. And when Verstappen is roaring back into form, even a single crack can become a fatal fracture. Max Verstappen's victory reminded everyone that Red Bull is alive and dangerous. George Russell's second place proved Mercedes isn't dead yet. Carlos Sainz's podium with Williams showed that even sleeping giants can wake when given a chance. The grid is tightening, and McLaren's dominance is no longer guaranteed. For McLaren, the constructors' title will almost certainly come, but the drivers' championship? That's war. Every pit stop, every tire call, every qualifying run will now be scrutinized. Fans aren't just watching the race anymore, they're watching the politics. And as for Piastri, his image as the calm, flawless newcomer has been shaken. He remains in the lead, but for the first time all season, doubts exist. Is he unbreakable, or has McLaren found his breaking point? The crash is only the beginning. If this is what's happening now, imagine the chaos waiting in the next race.